What's up guys? In this video, I'm going to show how you can use Power Automate Desktop to extract data from the web instead of a common programming language like Python. I will be using the website tcgplayer.com to web scrape publicly available data from the Yu-Gi-Oh! 25th Anniversary Rarity Collection section. So with that said, let's get this video started. When we open up Power Automate Desktop, we'll see this menu pop up here. And if we want to start automating stuff, then we'll have to click on this new flow button that can be found in the upper left corner of the screen. And we're going to have to give our flow or our automation a name. So let's call this web scrape Yu-Gi-Oh! Click create. And once we click create, it's going to start loading for the desktop flow, which might take a bit of time. So it looks like everything's ready now. And before we begin, let's think about what we need to do first. We have this Excel file here that has three columns: card name, rarity, and market price. And we can find the data for these three columns from the website tcgplayer.com. And if we scroll down a bit, we can see that the card name is Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, that's bolded here. The rarity is above the bolded card name, super rare. And the market price is colored in green, which is $4.21. And if we keep scrolling down, we'll see that each card data is separated by page, from page 1 to page 24. So if we analyze the URL link, we can see that towards the end of the link, we have page equals 1. So if we clicked on the second page here, we'll see that the link changes to page equals 2. And if we do this for page 3, then the link would become page equals 3, and so on and so on. When thinking about how we can extract the data from any page range, we can tell Power Automate Desktop to open the Excel file where the data will be stored and the web browser of the URL link to extract the data from. We can extract the data from each page one by one and transfer them to the Excel workbook based on the last row of the first column, then save and close the Excel workbook once the entire process is done. Just to note, we need to make sure that Power Automate Desktop extension for the web browser you're working on is enabled before doing any web scraping. So let's start building the automation process right now. We can go back to this screen here, and the first thing we can do is that we can set three variables for the URL, the starting page number, and the last page number or the ending page number. So if you go to variables here, we have the set variable action, which we're going to drag, and we're going to label this as URL or the partial URL, and we're just going to copy and paste the URL from Google here, but not including the page number though. I'm just going to go all the way here, and I'll just copy this whole thing here and paste the value here. Now the page number will be dynamic since we want to loop through each page, right? So I'm going to click on save, and I'm going to set another variable for the starting page number. So I'll call the start page num, which in this case will be 1. And the last variable will be the end page number, which will be 24 in this case if we want to loop through all the pages from that website. Click save. And once we set the variables, we want to launch the Excel file that contains the data. So before we do that, we need to make sure that the Excel file is closed. Otherwise, we're going to get an error. So I'm going to close this, and I'm going to search up Excel, and we're going to use the action launch Excel here. And we're not going to launch it with a blank document, but with opening the following document. And this is the document path, which contains the folder path that the Excel file is saved at. So you can click on this button. You'll click on this button here, select file to toggle through the dialog menu. Or you can just copy and paste the folder path here, which I did in the text file. And this will contain the folder path of the Excel file. Click save. And after we launch the Excel file, we want to set up the loop that will go through each page from the website. So if we search up loop, we have these kind of loops here, right? But we're going to use this specific loop action. And we're going to start from the starting page number variable, which you can click on this button here and select the start page num, and we're going to end to the last page num or the ending page num, and we're going to increment each value by 1, and we're going to call this variable current page num. Click save, and we have the loop set up now. Now inside the loop here, we're going to launch the web browser with the URL link plus the current page number. And To do that, we can just go to the browser automation section here, scroll down until you see launch new Microsoft Edge. So we're going to launch it in Microsoft Edge in this instance, drag it between the loops, and we're going to launch a new instance. And for this one, we're going to combine the URL variable plus the current page number. So click on this select variable button, select this, and then select this again, and click on current page number. And if we want to concatenate the two strings together, we can just delete these two percentage signs in the middle and replace them with a plus. Click save. And now we're going to be able to go through each web page properly. So up next is that we want to find the last row of the Excel file based on the first column. So if we go to search actions here, I'm just going to type out free, and we're going to use this action, get first free row given the column of the active worksheet. So I'm just going to drag this down underneath here, and we're going to use the Excel instance variable we created before, and we're going to just reference column A here, and we're going to rename this variable as last row first column. With this variable, we'll be able to find the last row based on the first column every time data gets added into that Excel worksheet. When opening up each web browser, we want to be able to extract the data from each web page. So let's go to the search menu here, and we're going to search up extract data from web page, which can be found in this section here. So if we drag this down, we're going to get this menu here. We'll leave this variable alone, and let's just name this variable as TCG data table. Now, when I go to the Google Chrome website, we'll get this live helper menu pop up. And what this allows us to do is that it allows us to select the text that we want to extract, basically. So let's go back to page 1. And from page 1, if I do a right click, you'll get this pop up here, extract element value, and all you have to do is just select text, ash blossom. And the next thing we want to get is the rarity, which is here. So right click, extract element value, super rare. And if that didn't work the first time, just do it again. And that'll be value 2. And the final thing is just the market price, which is highlighted in this red box here. Right click, extract value, and select, and that's value number 3. Now, that's only for one card, right? We want to be able to select every card in this page. So if I go to the second card here, Pot of Prosperity, if I do right click, extract element value, and then select the text, our Automate Desktop will recognize the pattern and start selecting all the titles for value 1, and then all the rarity in value 2, and all the market price in value 3 for this page. And we want to make sure that this gets stored as a data table, right? So that if I go to advanced settings, and this is the right setting here where we want to extract it as a table. So click OK and click finish, and then click save. And now we set up the process to extract all the web data into a single data table for that specific page. Once we have the web data stored in a data table, we want to be able to transfer them into a list so that it'll be easier to transfer the data from each list into the respective column in the Excel file. So if I go back to the search menu here, I'll type out retrieve, and we're going to use this action, retrieve data table column into list. So we're going to select the data table, which is TCG data table here, and we want to transfer the column for card name into its own list. So the column name or the index will be 0 in this case, which reference the first column of that data table, and we're going to call this card name list. Select save, and we want to do the same thing for the other two columns. So I'll drag this here, TCG data table, and we're going to reference the second column, which will have an index of 1, and call this rarity list. Save. And finally, we'll do this for the last column, and we'll reference column number 3, which will have an index of 2 in the data table, and we'll give this the name market price list. Save. Now we have all the data from that data table into its own respective list. Once we have the data in a list, we can start writing them to an Excel, and we can do that with the action write to Excel worksheet. So I'm going to drag this here. And this one, we're just going to write the card name to Excel column A. So value to write will be the list for card name list. And we'll leave this alone. And the column will be column A. And the row number will be that last row variable we created before. Click save. And the second one will be for column B. So let's choose the rarity list, column B. And we'll do the last row, first column, column variable. And finally, column C, save. And the very last thing we're going to do in this loop, once we transfer the data to an Excel file, is that we're going to close the web browser for that current page. So I'll search up close and put it inside the loop here, but right below the last write to Excel worksheet, and click save. And finally, outside the loop, we want to be able to save and close the Excel file. So if I do close again, I can drag this close Excel here, and we're just gonna have this save the document before closing, and click save. So we're pretty much done creating the steps to extract all the Yu-Gi-Oh data. Let's save our work, and once we save it, we can click on this run button here to start the process. So I'll click on run, and it's gonna go through each line one by one. It'll launch the Excel file first, and after the Excel file, it's gonna find the last row and then launch the web browser. And once it's done extracting the data from that web page, it'll close the web browser. Well, it'll store the data into Excel and then close the web browser and open up another one again. But this time, the second page will store the data in the last row and continue the process until it reaches the last page. So I'm just going to speed things up here a bit.
A few moments later.
So it looks like we're finally done extracting the data and the Excel file has been closed for us. Let's check out how the Excel file looks. And we can see that all the data got transferred into the appropriate columns. So let's check out what the last row is. 572, so there's about 571 cards here. And if we go back to the website, we have about 571 results here, meaning that all the data got extracted from each pages. So let's check out what the most expensive card is in this list. If I do Control-Shift-L for filter and just auto size everything here, and then sort from largest to smallest, you can see the most expensive card is Ash Blossom at Quarter Century Secret Rare for $192.14. I hope this video was helpful in showing an alternative way to web scraping with the low-code solution of Power Automate Desktop. While this is an easy way to scrape web data, I wouldn't say that it would be as fast and efficient as making your own script in Python. But if you are someone who doesn't know or doesn't want to bother learning a programming language, then Power Automate Desktop would be a good option for you. Speaking of programming languages, if you are interested in learning which language, Python or R, is the most popular for employers on LinkedIn, then check out this video I made before where I attempt to solve that problem. As always, if you guys found this video to be helpful, then please like and comment down below what else you'd want to see. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Until then, I'll see you guys next time.